Today, I'm going to share with you your secret superpower. Not only am I going to share with you what it is, I'm also going to share with you why it's important and how and when you can best capitalize on this hidden superpower of yours to make the most of it. Okay. So, without any further ado, your secret hidden superpower is the power of your subconscious mind. Now, I realize that might sound a little woo or come off as a little bit crazy. And if you thought that, I wouldn't even blame you. Okay. But stick with me here because what I'm about to share is incredibly powerful. And so make sure you watch this video all the way to the end. Now, one of my favorite books is a book by by the name of Joseph Murphy, PhD. And he wrote a very interesting and influential book called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. The whole book is fascinating, in my opinion. Okay. But in it, he shares a chapter called The Treasure House Within. And in that chapter, he suggests that all of the solutions to all of life's problems can be found by going inward. And if you think about it, that's the same thing that so many different wise men, prophets, gurus, philosophers, and religions have shared for literally like thousands of years. The importance of looking inward as opposed to looking for solutions to our problems outside of us. And in this chapter, Joseph Murphy talks about the power and the importance of learning specific tools that you can utilize to tap into the power of your subconscious mind to find creative solutions to so many of life's problems. And truthfully, some of the smartest and the most successful people of our time have done exactly that. Different people come to mind, but some of the most notable ones are people like Nikola Tesla, Thomas Edison, Steve Jobs, Albert Einstein, and Paul McCartney. In fact, countless different inventors, authors, creatives, artists, singers, and songwriters oftentimes talk about how, like, they didn't even necessarily come up with the song or the story or the tune or whatever it might be, that they almost describe it more like it came to them or they were just in the state where it just flowed through them. And that's exactly what we're going to be discussing here today on how you can be more intentional about tapping into the power of your subconscious mind so that those solutions can come to you and through you. There are very specific times that you can do that and very specific ways that you can do that. This is a diagram that represents the brainwave frequencies that we experience as human beings. Okay. Now, one thing you got to understand is that thought is a form of energy. Okay. And that energy can be measured in the form of hertz. And if you go to the hospital and they hook you up to an EEG, that device, those little electrodes will measure that thought energy. And this is what it will create a different chart depicting the brainwave frequencies. Okay. Now, we all experience these different brainwave frequencies throughout the day. Okay. And when we're in deep sleep, we're in what's known as delta brainwave frequency. Okay. And that's when, we're in our REM cycle sleep patterns. Okay. When we're fast asleep. But each and every morning, we go from delta through theta into alpha on our way into beta. And right now, if you're watching this, we're in a brainwave frequency of beta when we're alive, alert, and active, when we're up and moving, and after we've had a cup of coffee. And each evening, when we're in beta, as we get ready for bed and to lay our head down to sleep at night, we go back through alpha, through theta, and into the delta brainwave frequency. Okay. And it's actually these moments right here when what's known as alpha or theta that we're tapping into our subconscious mind and able to come to creative solutions to different problems that we're experiencing or different challenges that we're working on. Okay. Now, there are a number of different activities that a person could utilize or strategies in order to be intentionally capitalizing on the power of your subconscious mind. Is one of the main ones that comes to mind is like meditation. Meditation is consciously training your mind to go into an alpha or a theta brainwave state on demand. Okay. And, different people throughout the years have shared, including Jerry Seinfeld, how important meditation was for them for the success of their careers and some of their aspirations. But meditation is not the only way. Okay. In fact, one of the habits that I've developed in the past and one that I've encouraged others to try at the very least is to sleep with a notepad beside your head. And the reason is, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but have you ever been working on a problem and struggling to come up with a solution, and just as you're drifting off to sleep, the answer comes to you? Well, it's those moments that I'll roll over and write it down, because if I wait until the morning, to address it or to capture the idea, more often than not, poof, it's gone, you know? And so those moments can be incredibly insightful as far as like creative ways to come up with solutions to our problems. First 30 to 60 minutes in the morning and the last 30 to 60 minutes in the evening. And so during those moments, I'll specifically, carve out some silence and solitude to do exactly that. And I think that more often than not, people are just so inundated with noise and notifications and emails and reminders and dings. And it's just so easy to distract ourselves with different devices that we never give ourselves the opportunity or the time or the space to really tap into the power of our subconscious mind and let our mind do its thing for us. And another real interesting little way to capitalize on this is one of my a friend of mine down in the Barbados has an international company that she's in charge of running. And she always used to say that, she'd always got the best ideas while in the shower. Okay, well, her eyes are closed and she's shampooing her hair and that sort of thing. But again, by the time she like dried off and got changed, dressed for the day, well, the idea was gone. And so what she did was she hung up a whiteboard in her shower to capture those shower thoughts. And it's been incredibly helpful for her and her business. And I think that's a fascinating idea and I love it. Okay. But, some of the most successful people like Thomas Edison and Paul McCartney have capitalized on this time early in the morning or late at night when they're drifting off to sleep or just waking up. In fact, that song Yesterday by the Beatles, apparently came to Paul McCartney while he was dreaming. And he woke up in the morning and wrote it down, and the rest is history. But Thomas Edison had a real interesting habit that I thought is brilliant. And that's that he would purposefully, okay, take a nap midday. What he would do is prior to napping, he would pose a question to himself and then try to fall asleep holding a steel ball in his hand. And the idea was is that as he started to drift off, he would drop the steel ball, and the sound of the steel ball hitting the ground would wake him up, and then he would write down any ideas that he had in his mind at the time. And no surprise, I mean, Thomas Edison is arguably one of the most successful, most intelligent and brilliant minds of our generation. Okay. And that's just a one powerful example of how we can intentionally capitalize on the power of our subconscious mind. But another one, and one of my personal favorites, is as simple as like getting outside and going for a walk. And some of my best ideas come to me again while I'm quiet, alone, and outside and in nature. And interestingly enough, um, nature oftentimes provides some very therapeutic benefits and gives us an opportunity to process ideas and come to solutions and that sort of thing. But if you're going to do a throwback to high school science class here, you'll know that everything is a form of energy. Our thoughts are a form of energy. Our emotions are a form of energy. That's what emotions is, energy in motion. Emotion, energy in motion. Okay. But I'm a form of energy. You're a form of energy. The desk that I'm standing at is also a form of energy. Okay. But the earth itself is also a form of energy in nature, and it has a very specific frequency. And interestingly enough, this frequency can also be measured. Okay. And it's measured at 7.83 hertz, which I think is just fascinating. There's a term for this, and it's called the Schumann resonance. Okay. And the Schumann resonance has been registered at 7.83 hertz, which, if you're paying attention, is right here in that alpha theta range when we're relaxed and calm and passive. To me, it makes perfect sense because if you've ever spent time by the ocean or gone for a walk in nature or spent time hiking in the woods and that sort of thing, you'll know that that time in nature can be very calming, very therapeutic. There are doctors around the world that are writing prescriptions for walks in nature, calling it forest bathing for people who suffer from stress and anxiety. Talking about how therapeutic it can be to just get outside and go for a walk. The truth is that we are always unconsciously absorbing the energy of the environment and people around us. And it's happening below our level of conscious awareness. But when we go outside and in nature, what's happening is it's slowly but surely lulling our brainwave into the frequency of alpha and theta. And it's no wonder when we return, we oftentimes feel refreshed, rejuvenated, recharged, re-energized. Some of the most specific ways that you can capitalize and tap into this secret superpower of yours, being your subconscious mind, is to carve out time and space for silence and solitude, to allow your subconscious mind to work for you rather than against you. One of the biggest challenges and mistakes that I see people making these days is that we have this belief that we've got to figure things out on our own, that we've got to be the ones to grind and hustle and work harder and do more. And the truth, couldn't be further from that. In fact, Albert Einstein once famously said that our intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and our logical mind is meant to be its faithful servant. Okay, but we've created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. And to me, what that means is, we think that we've got to be so logical and everything's got to make perfect sense and we got to be very analytical. Okay. But the smartest and the most successful people have realized that, hey, your subconscious mind is like the car. Our conscious mind is like the driver, that we're just meant to direct it, to influence it, to steer it. But the real power is in your subconscious mind. That's your superpower. So let me know if you get an opportunity to try this, either the meditation, the walk in nature, the silence and solitude, or capturing some of those shower thoughts. I'd certainly be interested to hear from you. Right on.